All right, this is introduction to the content for Genesis chapter 5 uh, to chapter 6, verse 12. The first part of this chapter is a bit of a summary and a reminder of what has taken place so far in the book of Genesis. The introductory statement to this section begins with a written account of Adam. And this is a bit of an odd description because really it's more about introducing the next major character in Genesis, which is Noah. Moses is summarizing Adam's descendants and connecting them to Noah. That's the purpose of the genealogy here. The rest of the introduction reminds us of the creation and blessing of humanity. It leaves out the account of Cain and Abel, but picks up the story again with the godly line of Seth, through which God's plan of redemption will take place. This is the first sign that despite human sinfulness, God is able to fulfill his promises and will fulfill them through Seth's line. After this introduction, the rest of the chapter lists a series of descendants of Adam. And there are a number of things to note in this passage. One is that in each of these descriptions, we are told that each ancestor had sons and daughters, and then he died, except for Enoch, who walked with God, and then God took him away. So this saying over and over again, and then he died, um, really serves to highlight Enoch as one who walked with God. And this walking with God should remind us of humanity's experience, Adam and Eve's experience in the garden. The other thing that is obvious here is how long these men lived. It seems that in the time before the flood in particular, people lived much longer than today. It may alternatively mean that these specific men lived long lives, but most scholars see it as they all lived longer in that time period. It's not an accident that this section, as I mentioned before, ends with Noah and his sons. The purpose of the author is seeking to bring this family to the fore. And at this point in the summary, at this point, the summary becomes an introduction to what will follow, the story of Noah and the flood. When we get to Genesis chapter 6, we, especially the first 4 verses, we are into some very controversial passages. It's very challenging to interpret it. Who are the sons of God and the Nephilim? There are three main views. The first is the sons of God are men from the line of Seth, and the daughters of men are women from the line of Cain, corrupting the line of Seth. The second is the sons of God are powerful rulers who married multiple women to enlarge their rule, thus corrupting the earth. And the third view is the sons of God are fallen angels who took male human form and married women, and the Nephilim are the offspring of these relations. The last one makes the most sense in the light of the serious action that God is preparing to take, as well as explaining his judgment on this age. Satan may have been hoping to corrupt the seed of the woman so her offspring could not crush his head. Again, going back to the promise made in Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. Eliminating these hybrids, these angel uh, human hybrids, was required in order to redeem humanity. And there's some other reasons why this is a likely interpretation. The only other references to the sons of God in Scripture are found in Job, where they are clearly angels, including Satan himself. Enoch 7, a non-canonical book, goes into detail on this account and explicitly states these were angels. So that's another area of supporting evidence. And then, while it seems to contradict what Jesus said about angels neither marrying nor being given into marriage, we have to remember that Jesus is referring to the angels in heaven as opposed to the fallen angels. And he never states whether or not angels had sex, like were they male or female, is what I'm saying. Um, and then the last point of possible connection is in Jude. And if Jude is referring to this instance, then he also sees these beings as angels as well. Uh, the last part that we're going to look at today is Genesis chapter 6, verses 5 to 12. And here we see that God's judgment on the state of humanity. Human beings have become more and more evil, and we are told that God was even grieved that he had made them and had decided to destroy them. This statement is theologically challenging because if God is all-knowing, how can he be sorry? How can he be sorry he does something? And here I want to state clearly that I have a theory, but it is one. It's a theory that tries to explain a little bit of a mystery because God, in several places in Scripture, is said to have repented. But my theory is that while God is all-knowing, he knows what's going to happen. He knows that he will not destroy all humanity. But as he enters into relationship with humanity in creation and therefore in time, he is experiencing these emotions, even though he knows by interacting with human beings in time, he is experiencing these emotions. So while he would not change and does not change, and his word is consistent, we see that the emotional aspect is something that he experiences in time because in our current state, we are embedded in time. Anyway, that's just my theory. Providentially, and I mean that with the full effect, that God ordained that Noah would be a righteous man. This, um, we have the but, which reintroduces Noah, who was the last name in the previous genealogy. And what is said about Noah? He found favor with God as a righteous man. And like his ancestor Enoch, we are told he walked with God. So it's about relationship. And Noah was a man who walked with God. He wasn't sinless, but he walked with God. This also foreshadows future deliverers who we will see throughout the Pentateuch and really throughout the rest of the history of Israel, uh, such as Abraham, Joseph, Moses, and we know ultimately Jesus. So after the author reintroduces Noah, he again returns to the reality of human sinfulness, which is setting up for the story of Noah and the flood. So that's the basic outline for the content this week.